This morning, President Trump's former Homeland Security advisor is warning the U.S. government is under attack in the wake of a widespread breach by Russian hackers. Now, instead of focusing on that, the Republican-led Senate Homeland Security Committee spent the day repeating nonsense and lies about election fraud. Here's how it went.
We're not going to be able to just move on without bringing up these irregularities, examining them, and providing an explanation, and see where there really are problems so we can correct it moving forward. Senator Paul.
Mr. Chairman, I got to respond to that. I mean, you're saying I'm putting out information. Well, one, it had nothing to do with this report.
You lied repeatedly.
I did not.
You lied repeatedly in the press that I was spreading Russian disinformation, and that was an outright lie, and I told you to stop lying, and you continue to do it.
Mr. Chairman, this is not about airing your grievances. I don't know what rabbit hole you're running down.
Joining us now is Independent Senator Angus King. He chaired the Cyberspace Solarium Commission since last March and formed America's cybersecurity doctrine for the 21st century. Senator King, we just gave you a sense of the tone of that hearing. It's actually the substance that's of much greater concern, that instead of focusing on this huge, apparently Russian hack into all kinds of U.S. government agencies, Senator Ron Johnson and the Republicans there continue to repeat this widely discredited false information about the past election. What are your concerns about what you saw?
Well, let me unpack it a little bit because, John, people are complex. I've got to say, as you mentioned, I've been working for a year and a half with a bipartisan group across the Congress and the government and the private sector on cyber and protecting our country from cyber. And Ron Johnson was an ally in that fight. And in the defense bill that passed last week are 25 or 26 of our recommendations. In fact, this bill is the most significant piece of cyber legislation I believe the Congress has ever passed. And that's why many of us desperately hope the president will either sign it or let it become law without his signature, because it's critical to dealing, the provisions in that bill are critical to protecting us from the kind of hack that we have experienced over the last, it's been 6 or 8 months. We just discovered it in the last few days. On the other hand, the whole discussion about the election is, the problem with it is that those who claim that there are irregularities or fraud or whatever it is have never shown any evidence of it. That's the heart of this. And there are millions of people who believe the election was stolen and it was illegitimate. Why do they believe that? Because they're being told it daily, particularly by the President of the United States. But there have been something like 55 or 60 lawsuits where courts have heard whatever the evidence was and said, there's no evidence here. They've thrown the cases out. They've all been thrown out. So, if Ron Johnson wants to have a hearing to discuss this, that's fine. But don't just keep crying fraud. Let's see the evidence. And so far, we haven't seen it. And even the Justice Department, Bill Barr, the president's favorite attorney general, said, we looked at this. There's no evidence of widespread fraud in this election. Chris Krebs at the DHS, same thing. No evidence of widespread fraud. Republican judges, Republican elected officials across the country, nobody's seen it. So it's time for the president and his allies to move from alleging to proving. And so far, that hasn't happened.
Well, they're not there yet. I mean, they're clearly not there yet. Tommy Tuberville, who will join you in the Senate to be a new senator from Alabama in a few weeks, he was out at a rally yesterday saying, it's impossible what happened. He said it's impossible that Joe Biden won the election, but we're going to get it corrected, he says.
Well, that's ridiculous. I mean, what's the basis of saying that? It's possible because Joe Biden got more votes, 7 million more votes nationwide. So, and they've recounted in Georgia, they recounted 3 times. They recounted Democratic counties in Michigan. They keep coming up with the same margin. In fact, in a couple of cases, Joe Biden's margin went up. I mean, this is really dangerous stuff, John. That's the problem. Our system, which we take for granted, rests on trust. And when you undermine people's trust in elections and you say, okay, the winner won, my guy lost, we move on, we fight the battle another year or 2 years or 4 years, when that doesn't happen, the whole system starts to break down. This is a frontal assault on democracy.
Talk about frontal assault on democracy, this hack into U.S. systems. You were on the Intelligence Committee. What have you been told by the administration that you can tell us about the scope of this hack?
Well, I can't tell you anything that I've learned in a classified setting. I can just tell you it's one of the most serious attacks that we've ever seen, because it goes directly to some of our most sensitive agencies, like the Department of Homeland Security. This is, I hate to say this, but this is what we've been predicting. I mean, the report of the commission that Mike Gallagher, Republican congressman from Wisconsin, and I led over the past year and a half. This is what we've been predicting, that an attack like this or something worse. And right now, John, what we don't know is what the adversary, and we're not sure who the adversary is. There's a lot of talk about a particular country, but I can't confirm that. Attribution is one of the hard things in this business, but they're in these networks. So the question now is, what are they going to do? What's their goal? What's their intention? And stop for a minute and ask yourself, what if this were the electric grid? What if this were the airline management of the airways, the towers? What if it were the financial system? I mean, this is a gigantic risk. It's the most serious external risk that this country faces from a number of different potential adversaries. And that's why I want to go back. We got to get this defense bill passed, because there's so much in it to help us defend ourselves. Ironically, the bill is sitting on the president's desk at the moment of this most recent attack.
And as far as we know, he's still threatening to veto it. Senator Angus King, we got to let you go. Those candy canes behind you, are they real?
Yeah, they are. I'll send you one. The tree was brought by a member of my staff who took pity on me living by myself here in Washington. He showed up one day with a little tree and the decoration. So it's my hermit Christmas tree.
Well, we hope you have a Merry Christmas with your tree, and we hope you get to enjoy it virtually or in person with somebody. So, Senator King, thank you very much for being with us, as always. Merry Christmas.
Thanks.